Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Brent Hazard and Malcolm Johnson Show. I'm Brent Hazard, once again missing my partner in crime, Malcolm Johnson, but he's on the campaign trail. Please keep him in mind when you go into the campaign polls August 8th for Hinds County Supervisor, District 5. But always going to the bullpen. We have a talented group here at We Believe Studio. I decided to pick two guests who have no talent to show you what I can do. To show you I like a challenge. I'm like Ric Flair. I can wrestle with a broom for an hour, and that's what you're about to get.
Oh, boy.
But as always, Mr. Wilford Beals. How you doing, Mr. Beals?
How you doing, Mr. Brent? All right.
And as always, the founder. Oh, hang on. You know how we have to bring his narcissistic ass in? The founder, the innovator, the greatest man to ever walk in Jackson. It's a pretty coat you got, Socrates.
Oh, sure. No, thank you. You pretty accurate introduction as well.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Right. But
not far off. Not far
off. Okay. So starting off, one of the things I want to get to is, let's do it this way, because there's a couple topics I want. What topic do you want to talk about, Mr. Bill? Because, I mean, you're going to use an extensive vocabulary and not really say anything, so let's just get it out the way.
Okay. Well, first of all, I think we pay attention.
Therefore, here to there, herein.
I'm going to have to stop reading and go to the funny book.
Now you're on my level. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
What took place in Nashville that stays on my mind with the young lady purchasing those weapons and going back to a private school.
The shooting.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's my question to you. What you hear is that normally does not happen in the African American communities, because, and I mean, it's true. I do believe statistically, if you look at the quote shooters, you're getting more of the rich white kids. What would be your reasoning for that, or what is your justification, and how do we stop these shooters, in your opinion? What would you like to see?
Boy, there's a lot of things. Number one,
man, you got such an extensive vocabulary, but when I hit you with a question, you kind of goes away.
Yeah, I like to see more gun control of the high-powered weapons and more censorship of who gets the weapon. And I'm not trying to defy the Second Amendment. However, when things become plentiful and playful, you get the extreme thoughts to have extreme ambitions. That's it.
Socrates, your thoughts on the gun violence we're seeing and ways to, locally, nationally, and ways to address it?
Well, clearly there has to be some reform as legislation as it relates to guns. But, it was interesting that you were mentioning that it seems that most of the mass shootings are occurring at the hands of Europeans. And I think that goes back to the angry white man syndrome that we're in. It was brought to light more by President Trump when he said that we got to take back our country. It flies with the evidence that the browning of America is occurring and white males are afraid. And so I think there's some truth into your observation that most of these crimes are occurring in these mass school shootings by angry white males.
I would say this. I would disagree. I mean, obviously, some of your points are correct. I've always found it interesting when you said Europeans. Europeans are a continent. Well, in Spain, in France, they have black Europeans. They have Chinese Europeans, Japanese Europeans. You understand that, right? You understand the difference between geography, race, and ethnic groups.
Well, what is a Caucasian then?
I'm just saying.
I mean, since you're helping me understand.
Pigmentation.
You
That would be
understand?
pigmentation.
Caucasian.
Okay, pigmentation. But Europeans, there's some people in Europe speaking Spanish right now.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Oh, yeah.
There's some people in Portugal speaking Brazil. I'm just trying to educate my fellow Jacksonians.
Oh, okay.
But no, I will say this though.
What do you like to be called? Do you like to be called white or Caucasian or what?
You just call me that badass some gun. I can't say my full name because trust me. Oh, see, we already here. It's 5:12.
You don't want to.
You know what killed me. Now let me say this: for 400 years, and I respect you two gentlemen. Y'all seen oppression that I'll probably never experience. Of course. And I don't know if y'all been seeing Chat GPT. In the future, we all might be oppressed because if you've not been on that AI system, the overlords are coming. And what I'm talking about is an artificial intelligence system that's basically can do what any secretary can do right now. If you have not checked that out, and you just don't know what the future. But right now, as we sit here presently, I'll gladly admit. But sometimes I wonder when I hear these accusations of racism, and I meet the dumbasses like Tate Reeves or the Biffs or these white boys from Jackson Prep, and y'all getting beat by those boys in today's market. Come on, I mean, when you're a fifth generation Biff, at some point you just got to outwork them, right?
No, I don't.
You disagree with that?
I don't know what a Biff is.
You know what Biff is?
No, I mean.
You think you're trying to make me Biff?
I know. I don't know what.
Do you know when I say Biff? Do you know what Biff? Do you know what a Preston is?
No, I don't know.
No.
You've never met a white man named Preston?
Oh yeah, I have. Okay.
I've never met one named Preston.
You ever met a black man named Biff or Preston?
Yeah.
Preston, but not Biff.
Ariel, our producer, said you met a black man named Biff.
You don't have Bill for Preston.
Okay.
I have no idea what that is. Some kind of.
When I say Jackson Prep, do you know what that means?
It's a school, I guess. It's a private school, yeah.
No, you don't have a picture of that coming to mind.
No, it's just another private school.
So, okay, I'm glad we mentioned that. So when you say Caucasian or European, what are you talking about?
White
just
male.
the color white? Just the color white.
Folk.
Just the color. Oh, it's white folk then. But when I start using individual examples locally, you're like, well, they're just fine people. They're just
well, I don't know.
Biff is a wonderful person.
Well, why don't you just tell us what Biff stands for?
This doesn't stand for anything. It's the stereotypical white elitist where you sit there and they have that attitude that they're better than you. None of this.
We call that white supremacy.
Okay, and that's what I want to get into. Let me say this. Once again, let me say this on the record before I get canceled, because I'm here with the guy who can do it, even though I've threatened to cancel myself. Do you honestly do not see a difference between white entitlement and white supremacy? Truly, because I have not lived your life. I have not gone through your things. And once again, let me say this. How old are you, sir?
I'm 72.
And you're 98.
Yeah, I'm getting on up there.
With that said, if I lived through what y'all lived through, I'd hate every white person I see.
Well, I don't hate it. I don't hate white people.
I hate everybody anyway, but that's me.
I haven't been through anything that makes me hate every white person. I don't hate white people.
I didn't say that. I said if I were you, listen to what the words coming out my mouth.
Okay, well, why would you be that way if you were me?
If I were you, if I lived through your experiences.
Well, you would not hate every white person.
I'd hate most of them. Once again, I hate you too, but it's not because of the color of your skin. Okay? It's just so we're clear.
Old and ugly.
Do you? No, I'm going to be old enough. I'll be old one day. I ain't never going Come on now. Come on now.
You know what the lady said to the alcoholic in the park? She walked up to him and she said, it's a shame and a disgrace that you are drunk and you are in this park just drunk. And he said, yeah, it is a shame and disgrace, but you are ugly, and tomorrow I'm going to be sober, but you gonna still be ugly.
Is that Fred? Is that a Red Fox?
I don't know.
I think it's Red Fox.
May have been.
And that's
May
a
have been.
classic.
You know Red Fox?
Oh, look, I'm from Greenville.
You watch that show?
I listened to some records.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. That was
Okay.
back when you had to go get the records.
You better check your DNA. You may have some
I see.
little African
Okay.
heritage in there somewhere.
Hey,
partner.
what I'm going back to the shootings because we're having fun here. But no, I mean, to me, what causes those kids to shoot, and usually are children, to me, it's those situations. And look, I've been there to a certain degree where my knee got shattered. Our family fortune was going away because of an international embargo, and you just have rage. Some of that's testosterone, some of that's teenage angst, and some of that's sitting there watching my grandfather die of cancer. There were thoughts when, you think the world's going to end, and if the world's going to end, you don't have the perspective as you do. What I don't think anybody ever relates, and I think it's a shame on both sides, I think the African American community has the equivalent of these shooters, but they're just gangbangers. And I think it's easier to dehumanize the gangbangers, where Keith Gates, I don't think you know Gates, don't you? He was a city attorney here. He and I started off doing the Richie and Haz show, and Gates used to kill me. The shooter, when I call a convicted felon a gentleman or something like that, that is the attorney coming out. I can't call them pieces of crap in court. But when the white guy in South Carolina sat in a Sunday school meeting for like 2 hours and then shot 9 people, Gates used to always beat me in the head with it, and it's completely true. After arresting him, he was hungry, and they took him to Burger King. Mm-hmm. Now, you're waiting for that story, and you're like, and then they beat the hell out of him.
Full stomach.
No. I mean, and there's a perception there where we've got to start looking for commonalities and realizing this is what happens if you are going through X, Y, and Z. You turn to violence. It just changes based on your social economic levels. But the same anguish that leads to these shootings, of course, what was interesting here, female shooter, and she was African American, correct?
I don't know.
Did you see whether?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, she was female. I know that.
May have been.
And that you just don't usually see women go that way. But it's one of those situations where I would like to see. I don't think we're ever going to limit Second Amendment rights, which is. You're a hunter, correct?
Oh, I am.
Are you a hunter? I do not know this.
I don't hunt anymore since I got a job.
One of the greatest limitations of the Second Amendment was the plug in shotguns. Do you remember before? I don't remember before shotguns had plugs. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Do you remember, Mr. Bill?
Yes, I'm familiar with it.
And for those who don't know, you could load up a shotgun with what, 7 shells?
At least.
Yeah. But then they passed a law because it was too easy to kill things where they plugged the shotgun where you could only put 3 shells in it for the hunters. No one caused a riot. No one, your rights weren't limited. No one killed less birds and it's easy to take the plug out, but it was something like that. My dad made fun of me when I bought basically a 223 was my first rifle to go deer hunting, and I bought a 30-shot clip because A-Team was on, and we could choose our first deer rifle. My dad said, "You're a damn idiot," and he goes, "You can only shoot 3 shots until the deer runs away, and then you're going to spray bullets and cost us money," which I did, and then you realize, well, it's a nice rodent gun or it's a nice vermin gun, but these common sense, I don't know where that common sense, when you sit down and say, why can't we do X, Y, and Z? I don't understand. If you were made king, Socrates, would you submit? I know if you were made king, I'd be shot tomorrow. You know that. Why the hell you laughing so hard? You know that would happen. You know that would happen. In fact, you're laughing over here
because you're European.
Yeah, that's true.
He don't know what Biff is. I don't know what Biff is. I'm colorblind.
I'm not colorblind.
But with that said, if you were made king tomorrow, this is what kills me about the Democrats and the Republicans. everyone says, the Democrat says it's a gun issue. Republicans say it's a mental issue. It's a mental health issue. And then the argument stops. And then there's a standstill. For someone to really argue, and this is the attorney coming out of me a little bit, fine, let's go down your path. Any gun owner needs to have some sort of mental evaluation. Not by the state. You can pick your own doctor. We all supposed to get physicals. But if you really believe it's a mental health issue, then logically you would want people to own guns go through some mental health check. You're looking at me confused.
Well, what about mental rage with anger? Because a lot of people have mental health issues, but they're not sparked. What about the balanced mind that is...
Oh, now I'm revealing too much right now. I can tell you what happens when you tell a therapist, I'll put someone in the ground real quick. They make you take a test before you leave. I know that for a fact. So I disagree politely with you that those people who have those emotional imbalances why they could be calm. I think those are still revealed. And I think those are more getting into bipolar, schizophrenic, things like that in Mississippi we don't even address. But if you're made king, what are the first three things you do to try to address gun violence overall in our state? Because we don't have a lot of... is the last shooting we had here, is that Pearl High School?
We had some serious gun violence just at St. Patrick's Parade. I don't know what you mean.
No, I'm talking about the last what you would call a mass shooting. We have gun violence, but what I'm saying is we don't really have a lot of mass shootings in Mississippi.
Well, we have horrific killings and crime in Mississippi.
Well, how would you address that?
Well, certainly the root cause of crimes is in economics and opportunity. And so I would address it with that. I would start by, let's take a look at, where the crime is occurring, and let's look at what the economic conditions are in that community. And let's address that with opportunities and the ability to work and save and earn and see what happens. I think there needs to be a reallocation of resources inside of communities in America, just like we have allocation of our resources in other countries. We do it all of the time, and so I would do it here at home if I were king. We'd fix this economic problem.
Agree? You're looking perplexed, Mr. Bill. Do you agree? Do you disagree?
He's just wishing I was king, that's all.
I agree.
I wish you wish he was king. We're going to have to bring in a polygraph in here, because that's not what that looked like to me. Oh, yeah. That's not what that looked like to me. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, he's good with them now. He started with the lady with the drunk man. Now he's talking about being king, so he's good with them.
Well, go ahead.
But yes and no, because there are always extenuating circumstances or differences no matter what you do on a mass scale. So I say yes and no. Those who
that's a perfect Mr. Bill answer. Yes and no.
Right. Because there's going to be always those elements that slip through the process.
If we ever rob a bank together, remind me to leave you at the house.
Yeah, because I will analyze.
Because you'd be like, I didn't know whether to shoot him or to rent the car. I didn't know whether to take the money. I didn't know what to do. Anyway, we're going to get back on this conversation wherever it's going.
Well, if we robbed a bank together, Brent, I want you to understand this.
Sunshine.
I want you to realize.
Sunshine.
I want you to go in the bank.
Sunshine.
Get all of the money.
This is why you and I would never rob a bank together. You and I couldn't decide who was leading.
I want you to go in the bank, get all of the money, shoot anybody who gets in your way, and I'll be sitting in the car, and I want you to know while you're in there that I'm taking all of the chances. Now, if we can get that through, then me and you are perfect to rob a bank together.
You better be so glad I like you. You better be so glad I like you.
I'm taking all of it. Mr. Bill, that's all I said.
See, there's some things I want to say right now about indictments.
Where you going?
And for someone to take all the risk, because I'll guarantee you right now, if this white boy came close to the rumors that I've heard about one Socrates, my ass would be up already in Pensacola. That's where they send the white people for white collar crimes.
Oh, on the beach, huh?
Oh, on the beach.
Oh, they
Wow.
Now, the best way to rob the bank, which I know for sure, is to create a bank, get federal protection, and go belly up.
Now, you know what?
That's pretty good.
You know what? This some gun right here ain't said a damn thing worth a damn for two years. Here comes, that's some gold there. Speaking of gold, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna have to take a break, but I noticed there's a signature blend from Earth Blend, which is your startup in coffee, trying to bring some of the coffee dollars and innovation of Mississippi. What is this new bag you've got for me?
Well, that's a 2-pound bag of Earth Blend coffee, the finest coffee that you can buy in that price range. And so we'd like everybody to go to earthblendcoffee.co and order the coffee online. We would appreciate your support.
We're going to come right back here and talk about some other issues. We're going to talk about maybe the banking issues. And we're going to talk, of course, we'll have to talk garbage, but we'll be right back after this break.
Yeah.
With so much going on day to day, we lose track of what's important. Sometimes we get lost, we lose ourselves, and we forget that our personal care is important. Self-care is checking in on our physical and mental health and making sure we are using and putting good things into our bodies. It's when we take time, real time, to connect ourselves back to a beautiful, healthier, happier you. Join me and an expert lineup of speakers on April 1st as we teach you the real meaning of self-care. This will be an empowering and enlightening time to help you get and stay in tune with yourself. Invite a friend, invest in yourself, and let's all learn the true meaning of self-care. You need it, you deserve it. I can't wait to see you transform from the inside out.
Do you have something to say? Do you want your voice heard? Join the We Believe Global lineup. Be the star of your own show. For more info, call 800-492-5186, option number 1, or visit online at webelieve.global.
Welcome back to the Brent and Malcolm Show. Please remember that my co-host is out campaigning, Malcolm Johnson, for Supervisor District 5. Please make sure you go up to him, ask him some questions. I think he is he would fix some of the issues that we're addressing here based on his actions on bringing fantastic guests like Mr. Bill and also his work in the community. With that said, Socrates, let's go back to here because I want to tie this in because we throw knives at each other. We enjoy cutting each other. But some of the things I hear you say about, yes, I think statistically, and Mr. Bill, you agree or disagree, statistically, richer communities have less crime. There's no way to argue with that.
Yeah.
The problem with that is there's more to unpack there. Take you, for instance. If you were in California and you were going to say, we're going to start a coffee company, and it is going to be the first African-American coffee company, I personally believe you would get more support in California by a non-African American customer base than you are receiving in Jackson. True or false?
That's possibly true, Brent. African American businesses seem to do extremely well in cities where they have small African American population.
And my point is, though, it's not, to me, it's not so much the African American, and this is what I was going with this, and we in Mississippi, being a basically poor state, but also in the African American communities, one, I just don't believe, like California's talking about the $5 million reparations. I just don't think that's reality, because I don't know one time, we've given reparations to the Japanese of $46,000 in 1942, 1946, but that's size of payment based on the population. We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. I just don't know of a country that has done that. Now, if y'all know one.
Well, I don't think you're accurate, Brent.
Go ahead.
I think we give reparations to everybody except African Americans. I think we gave reparations to the farmers, the Delta farmers, where you come from.
Those are called subsidies.
Now, subsidy, reparations. You can call it. All I'm saying is when you start paying people not to farm and you start paying people for the slaves that they lost, that's reparations, Brent. And so, it applies. It's good for everybody else, but when it comes to African Americans, it just does not seem to have the same degree of support.
See, I love it. You see how he raised his voice with me?
Well, that's because you were going to cut me off.
Hang on.
He about to be king.
He ain't king yet. He king in about 30 more minutes. He can be king on another show. But the point I'm making, though, is you're talking to someone who owned a transportation company. Now, if you're talking about the 1870s, the reparations for losing slaves there, that's documented and I wasn't around. If you're talking about current subsidies that Benny Thompson supports, that basically, we're getting a little quiet there, that destroyed the Delta and personally destroyed my family's business. Like, we all, woohoo, the rich farmer got, my family hated that. Mm-hmm. One, those are the Prestons and the Biffs who are driving around in the Cadillac car with the farm equipment tag on it, who burn down fields, and that's the reason. The real reason the Delta sucks right now is because you don't have any middle income jobs, and you are subsidizing the dumbest, stupidest people in the world because they can't lose a company. They could basically go out there, and it's becoming more automated. They know if they go bankrupt, the government's going to bail them out. I would love to see the Delta get rid of subsidies so you could have a Walmart come in, so you could have an Amazon come in and give hope to, we don't have any middle income jobs. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, my problem with what you said, Socrates, is you're using stereotypes. And like I said, if you're talking about a subsidy, this is where I think you lose the majority of America when you're talking about reparations. Does it matter how we get money to the Jackson water system? Does it matter what program we use to get money to Jackson? In your opinion, would you accept money if it wasn't called reparations?
I think we need to get money. You can call it whatever you want. I think we need to get some dollars into the communities of the folk that have been devastated and have been oppressed for hundreds of years and who are currently living in poverty in this society. I think we need to get funds to them, whether we call it reparations, whether we call it subsidies, whatever you want to call it, but put some money in those communities.
I completely agree. Not only because of that, so we're clear, because it would benefit me living in Mississippi with 37% African American neighborhoods and population, but more importantly, I don't know how, what kills me, the farmers you just talked about, the reason Benny Thompson takes care of those farmers is the farmers know how to use the political system and their power. My issue is, and it goes back to this coffee, the fact that every city employee or let's say this, every local community is not supporting your brand of coffee, not because you're wonderful, not because you're a nice guy, not because I'm not a coffee fan. I've tried it. I've had friends who like it. But what I'm saying is they don't understand the benefit that if I raise you up, you start selling coffee, you're going to need trucks to ship coffee. If you start selling coffee, you're going to need employees to sell coffee. If you start selling coffee, you're going to need advertisers for coffee. And my issue is, and once again, it's not an African-American situation, because I've seen it in Greenville with the Biffs and the Prestons. I've seen it down on the coast. I see it with lawyers every day. I have lawyers right now begging for work, yet they keep on voting Republican. Do you see my point, what I'm making, or am I just speaking Mr. Bill? Or yes and no?
I see your point, and your point is more like what's written is better to teach a man to fish than to give him fish all the time. So I'm not too supportive of throwing money at a problem as opposed to developing economic viability for the middle class.
And I guess what I'm saying is I just don't believe the reality. Now look, okay, before this year, Socrates, did you see a 900 million? What's the total? And look, I'll defer to him on the water issues. What is the total amount coming to City of Jackson from the federal government at this point, to your understanding?
800 million.
Okay. Was there any realistic chance that you thought this $800 million would be coming from the federal government to the City of Jackson?
No, I didn't think we had a chance at that. But the involvement of the Department of Justice, Congressman Thompson, the EPA, and the comments and the behavior of the governor, who said that Jackson's leadership was totally incompetent and that it would be a great day for him not to be in Jackson, which is the capital city of the state of Mississippi, led to a perfect storm where we got those agencies involved and they made a direct award to Jackson, bypassing the state.
Is that the way you perceived it? Did you think Jackson would have had any chance of fixing its water system or getting any federal aid before this year?
Before this year, everything was depleting. So that limits Jackson being able to take care of his water system. So they needed that influx of more dollars because they couldn't take enough taxes up to go back and regain where they should be before everything started deteriorating. So this is that shot in the arm. The most important thing to me, everybody's counting money, okay? That's just like, I say it like this. You got 800 million, what have you. Am I gonna have 800 million enhancement in the system? Or I'm going to just fix the problem.
Now, wait, when you say enhancement in the system, are you talking about the physical system or are you talking economic system?
I'm talking about physical system because it's supposed to fix the water system so it could be another 50 years before they have to go in there and do enhancement or what we call midlife overhaul.
But, I mean, from an economic system, if you spend $800 million in an economy, it's supposed to have a factor of 7. Agree or disagree?
I agree.
So technically, this $800 million infusion, then I do not know about the timelines. Are you aware of timelines, or have they made any I know the czar's here, and I know they're talking contracts. I know they've given some salaries to people, but besides that, have they spent any of the money?
Well, it's not very obvious. I mean, I'm certain that they've hired engineers to do some design work, et cetera, but we haven't seen any contractors on the ground as of yet.
And I'm asking because I truly don't know.
I'm upset. Now you say they hired engineers to do the groundwork, and everything is scientifically defined. And I sit up there and listen to them over the news, said they have leaks, but we don't know where they are. They had made some repairs, but we don't know what the repairs are that was made. So what happened to the engineering?
Okay, let me ask you this. It came out recently that in 2016 at the Colonial, or by the golf course, are you familiar with that, over there by Old Camp? There was a pipe broke, and it was one of the main pipes of the city of Jackson. Are you familiar with this story?
Yeah, pretty much.
5 million gallons, am I making that up? 5 million? Is that what you saw? A day.
Pretty close.
5 million gallons a day has been broken since 2016. And what I'm relying on is a New York Times article. And that the city of Jackson, and this predates the current administration to be fair, has not addressed it. And the article was basically a city where people could not get water, could not flush toilets. And once again, I criticize him, and I have to give him credit. He's one of the reasons that the citizens of Jackson was flushing toilets. He got compensated for that, but we don't live in Russia. I love when people criticize someone making a living when they just want to start speaking, I guess, Russia, because Visa and MasterCard charges my ass. But with that said, you didn't know they charge white people too?
No, I didn't.
Okay. You thought we gave the special side? You thought I walked in?
Yeah, different kind of car.
Oh, yeah, okay. But what I'm saying is, they was a pipe that broke since 2016. And it's just now coming public that was emptying 5 million. It was a waterfall, is what it's described in the article. 5 million gallons a day. Your thoughts, your opinions?
Well, my thoughts going to go back to performance standards. Who's in charge? And we have the engineers, and we are supposed to be able to handle that, because that's a part of the process of the public trust that we give the leadership that we elect.
See, and that's where you lose me, Mr. Bill, and I'm not saying you're right. I can't stand. Did you just blame the leaders or not? So I'm clear. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Well, yes, those are in charge, those that we empower to maintain and manage our tax dollars.
And this might be a cultural issue, and I'm not making light of that. When you went to school, was it your teacher's job to educate you, in your opinion, or not?
No, the teacher's job to give information, and because education is within the individual, the content of the character of the individual. Information flows all the time.
And see, I'm closer to that. When it comes to leaders are just the best idiots we can pick. And I'm talking about whether we're talking about Reagan, Clinton, Obama, whoever, Trump. To me, if we're looking for someone to save you, the people who subsidize the farmers, Haley Barbour was involved in that. Jimmy Carter was up there too, but Haley Barbour was involved in that. Now, Benny Thompson keeps it going. But let's be clear, I've been screwed on both sides of the aisle, and I don't expect anybody to come save me, because it's just an opportunity. I tell people all the time, and I know we've had these private conversations, I see the world like we're just all sharks. We get along. Don't let yourself bleed. And I'm fine being a shark, and I'm fine with someone attacking me if I'm bleeding. Don't think we're all puppies here and get disappointed. I've been disappointed too many times where you're like, oh, you're not going to help me out? You're not going to invite me to the party? And then you're like, if there's one deer and we all three have to eat and we all three have to feed our families, that deer's not going to go around. And I think we get naive when they think someone else is coming to save us. And my point, Socrates, is this: where we're talking about water, whether we're talking about school systems, whether we're talking about shootings, it doesn't matter what we're talking about. It's how we're doing something that matters. The fact that everybody just watching this show is not going to buy your coffee. Because this was before I knew you, I bought $1,500 of this coffee and gave it away to my listeners. Now, the theory was, let's get some comparison. The theory was, this is his studio, and knowing Socrates has more benefits and it has disadvantages. Let me say that. And I like it. Of course, I like jackasses.
You gonna vote for him to be king?
I tried to get him to run for mayor. But he might be the only black man Brent Hazard could beat in the city of Jackson. I'd get 3 votes. But anyway, the point is this: the fact that we can't say, I don't care if it's a music festival. And once again, exclude Jackson, because a lot of people think I pick on Jackson. I'm talking about Greenville. I'm talking about the white Greenville. The fact that we can't sit here and say we're stronger hey, we can fight like dogs. But when someone else comes in, well, what contract? If this man has been up for contracts, and we all go back to the standard. My standard's Raymond Hardy Hazard. I carry his middle name. If you explain to my father that we were contracting Not with white businessmen, not with black businessmen, but with businessmen who did not pay taxes into the community that he employed people, that he had to hire people. He would look at you and he would cuss you out so hard. And he said, the problem here is not race. The problem here is not the problem is you dumbasses don't understand economics. $1 carries a factor of 7 right here. You take it out, you just lost that $7 right there. How hard is that, you dumb SOBs? You tell me, because ultimately my point is this, Socrates, I'll give you the remaining 5 minutes. That's why I don't see these issues as race. If it was truly race, you would have the #1 selling coffee in Jackson in the African American communities. And that's why when I hear racial, I'm not denying 400 years of oppression. I'm not denying the crap y'all had to deal with. Do not want to ever get into that or deny that or appear that way. But if it was truly race, Deion Sanders wouldn't be in Boulder. And when I hear, well, we need to do this, it's just a fiction to me because I'm not holding y'all to the same standard. We were the most popular family in Greenville, Mississippi when we were rich. When our ass went broke,
the government bought you out. Subsidized government buyout.
You could have been our friend when you got broke.
Oh, I mean, no, I still hate y'all's asses. But what I'm saying is,
You could have moved on over to the ghetto and learn how to.
But but this is
learn how
what
to
you
eat
want.
that commodity. You know, did you eat the commodity cheese?
Sunshine, me and the boys still had avenues. Okay, I mean, just cause it just means another 60 hours at the job. But what I'm saying is, what you realize. Look, I've had $1 million contracts, $1 million cases, and I've had $6 in my bank account. And what you realize is, and you know this, Socrates, people see these big contracts. No one wants to ask you, well, what did you make a profit on that? People see these big contracts, and no one wants to say, what do you mean? Well, that money's gone. What I've learned about money is this: when you're moving that kind of money, man, that money's been spent 2 years in front of you or behind you. And or you know what? I've lost more money betting on people in Mississippi than anybody else. Because what you realize is when you're competing with Florida over a bid, or when you're competing with New York over legal work, and this is the best week, and not you two, but what I'm saying is Mississippi's the best we got, and 32 hours is a good week, you can't win that bet. But my question back to you, Socrates, well, I'm going to give you the next segment. We're going to break early. My question to you is, if you agree with me, how do we fix being last? How do we fix poor communities having more violence if we're not going to truly believe that ourselves? And that's what I want you to address when we come back after this break.
SGECOVIDsolutions.com is paving the way forward for a safer city government delivering cutting-edge biosecurity and biosafety protocols developed internationally by top virologists and scientists using an all-natural cleaning solution, killing COVID-19 on contact like no other product on the international market. For more information, please call 1-800-281-9080 or visit us online at SGECOVIDsolutions.com. Let SGECOVIDsolutions.com provide innovative rapid facilities testing and world-class state-of-the-art biorisk safety protocols for all of your coronavirus needs. Call 1-800-281-9080 or visit us online at sgecovidsolutions.com.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippi.link.com and click on Home Delivery.
Welcome back to the Brent Malcolm Show. Please remember Malcolm Johnson's running for Hinds County Supervisor for Hinds County, August 8th. With all that said, Socrates, floor is yours. Respond. Educate me.
Well, I mean, you had a long presentation, but if I can cut right through it, it's policy. Leadership is not something that happens. It's critically important that leadership is in place because leaders create policy. And policy dictates how a community is going to respond, whether it's going to thrive, whether it's going to suffer, and those things. Now, we spend a lot of time talking about individual inspiration, individual drive, and things of that nature. But if you put a lid on the top of that drive with bad policies, then you will find that you will suffer economically regardless to who you are and regardless to where you are. Now, the point of reference here, the state of Mississippi is last. I don't want to talk about the city of Jackson. I want to talk about the entire state of Mississippi. It is last. It has been last for the last 50, ever since the end of slavery. It has been last and will continue to be last. For what reason, Brent? For the policy that's created down in your government or by your leaders. And there are not many people that run this state or run this country. 5 to 6 families. And they continue to create policies that's designed to keep African Americans down and poor whites down, and policies that just uplifts a very few. That's why the state is poor. It's the last in everything you can imagine. It's a reason for that.
I would agree with you on that on agriculture, but to me, we've never broken away from the agricultural business model, which, one, it's seasonal. 2, there's not, until recently, there hasn't been any need for computers on the farm. And 3, no matter how hard you work or how many hours you work, you can't go work another farm. You don't have that. You don't have a skill set like you do in factories, and you can never own a percentage of that farm. You never get equity. Is one of the issues. Obviously, horrible. Now, throwing in that agricultural business model, you're seeing people as property back before the Civil War, and that still haunts us today because I don't think we see the aggregate of, I don't care whether I like you or not, but I want your kids to be the best because I want my kids to be the best, and no one's coming to hire us. No one's going to come to hire one family in Mississippi or the private academy kids. No one's coming to hire, Nissan's not coming to hire the private academy kids. Your thoughts and opinions. Well, here, off the air, you've been pushing for a change in the city government. Yes or no?
Yes, we may need to take a look at how we operate because we're getting money and subsidy from the country and different places, and we still come up with the same results.
But if you have the same half-assed people running the same company, no matter how you organize the chairs, you're still going to get a half-assed results.
So maybe we need to write a charter that keeps leadership in a what we call defined process of performance standards.
And see, and this is where, and once again, I don't keep on picking on him, and I don't give a damn if it's coffee. I don't give a damn if it's garbage. I hear these issues. I would be fine, so we're clear, if this became a racial, not racist, a racial, tribal community. At least that would make sense. You know, when you go to prison, you don't cross lines. And while I disagree with that, I understand it. But like I said, I don't understand why this isn't the coffee of City of Jackson. I don't understand why this isn't the coffee of Alcorn. I don't understand why this isn't the coffee of Jackson State. Now, if it sucks, hey, Socrates, we would love to sell your coffee, but this sucks here, here, and here. And then he would realize, well, I got to pick my game up. But none of that analysis it's going on in California. It's going on. Do you know why, in your opinion, why are they trying to ban TikTok?
TikTok is taking control of its industry as it relates to social media.
Is TikTok doing anything that the other companies are not?
They have a younger market.
Are they doing anything with the Chinese government, in your opinion, that Google, Facebook, Apple, and the Instagram is not?
Not to my knowledge, no.
In your opinion, Socrates, is TikTok about to be banned in our United States for anything devious with the Chinese government? And I know we're not tech people here, and we don't.
We have no earthly idea what's going on with the American government nor the Chinese government. We don't have the slightest idea.
Do you really think Google and Facebook and every other tech company out there is not spying on us already?
No more than we're spying on them. We have no idea what we're going on. If you go back and look at the days of the CIA and how it was created and what it was created for, and if you look at the way we treated prisoners when we were capturing them over in Afghanistan, and if you look at all of the things that we set up as a country, then you would know that whatever China and Russia and the rest of them are doing over there is the same game that we're all playing. And so you can ban TikTok if you want to, but you can bet that America has as many spy organizations going on in China as they have going on over here.
But my whole point is, I think Google, and I think it's closer to what Mr. Bill's saying, I think TikTok's about to be banned in America because American companies are not competing. Because they can't figure out the algorithm, and Snapchat is trying to do something similar. YouTube Shorts is out there. Instagram is doing more video. But they're about to ban Chinese only, that they're evil. And in my opinion, all those companies are spying on us.
True. So we got a situation where the pot called kettle black. And it's just that the influence of the homegrown company is pushing the challenge for the company coming from another country. They're going to be bad because that's what we say about each other.
Well, and to me, what you're doing is, and it goes back to, so we're clear while I brought up TikTok, you brought up the subsidy. It is an artificial subsidy that we can't compete with you, so we're going to kick you out. The farmers can't compete on the open market, so we're going to give them welfare checks. Mm-hmm. And not competing and not understanding that this coffee is not sold in 10 stores, or at least on the shelves in 10 stores. And like I said, it doesn't matter if it's contract for garbage. It doesn't matter if it's water. At some point, we have to regulate ourselves. And we have to hold each other. The issue I have with the African American, in my opinion, when Deion Sanders should have gone to Boulder, the leaders of the African Americans should have just crucified him to say, you came in and said it was a calling, we don't have water, we have record murder rates, and you leaving us for a paycheck. And I'm fine with a coach leaving for a paycheck, okay? We've got to start looking at this society the way it is. No one's coming to save us. The reason, my opinion, back to the $1 billion, and I'll let you gentlemen close the show, the $1 billion was given to Jackson because the Biden administration saw the and they're doing anything they can to pump money in the market for their own benefit because they know that we're about to hit a huge recession. So they're looking for social issues to pump because I never imagined Biden giving the city of Jackson close to $1 billion, or he would have given $50 million, or somebody in the government would have given us $50 million beforehand.
Biden's a change man.
Do you agree or disagree?
Well, I don't know whether the country is headed to a recession or not, and whether these are economic stimulus that we see in terms of the dollars that are put in communities to fix their infrastructure problems. I don't know if I can connect those dots.
You think the banks were just failing because it was just a Tuesday?
No, I think the banks were failing because of poor management, because of the issue with greed and the associated risks associated with that. And so I think that's why banks were failing. That's why most businesses fail that have a market share. Now, not African American business because they don't have market share. They don't have a consumer base. They don't have the financial infrastructures in place to allow them to get in mainstream. So it's different for small African American owned businesses than it would be for a large bank. And so I don't know what Biden's doing, but I know that Jackson has been underfunded by the state of Mississippi, as was pointed out by the Department of Justice, by Congressman Thompson, and that for years Jackson did not receive the proper share of federal funding to fix its problems. And it didn't receive that because it was controlled and run by African Americans since 1997. And so it was an obvious attempt to starve the city of Jackson so that you later on could take it over with policy again, like 1020, that put your own police department in a city, or like taking over the assets of the city. I want your airport. I want your water department. I want anything that's generating revenue under my control so that I can relegate you to a position of second-class citizenship. And so Biden and the EPA and DOJ saw that, and they were smart enough and courageous enough to say that we'll bypass the state of Mississippi and make Jackson a direct award of some $800 million.
Mr. Bill, if the state of Mississippi was given $800 million to spend on the city of Jackson, how much money in your opinion would the city of Jackson have gotten?
Well, that's hard for me to say because I'm not close to the politics. But only way I can tell and measure the amount of money that was spent in the city of Jackson is what was done, the enhancement of the system, and the well-being of the water being delivered. Instead of narrowly focused, showing we doing this, we doing that, and it does not balance the performance measures that is expected for us to have a competent water system. So I cannot say, but I will follow the process and see how it's enhanced. That's the only way I can measure it. Because like you said, money was spent long before and money gonna be spent now when they start sending money. But the true test is the efficiency that when the money comes here, that is delivered to the people.
Why, in your opinion, Socrates, did Delbert Hosemann not campaign harder to get some of the COVID money to come to the city of Jackson for infrastructure?
Again, policy is being ruled by a very small group of people in our state.
He's the second most, would you say the lieutenant governor is the second most powerful person in our state?
No.
Okay, who is?
The most powerful people in our state are not in elected positions. They're not government officials. Those people take their marching orders from the powerful people in our country. And it's always been that way. If you go back to the Rockefellers and you go back to the DuPonts and you go back to the Russells, that is the way the country's wealth was controlled. And it's controlled that way today. Tate Reeves, Delbert Hosemann, are just instruments that are given the orders as how they want this state to operate by powers that you and I do not see, Brent. And they're not Jackson Prep boys, and they're not somebody that you grew up with. They are the folk that are controlling this entire country. The gentleman that controls the finance side of America is probably the most powerful man that you never see. And so we have people that are running things that we don't understand of what's happening to us. Poor whites don't understand what's happening to them. Blacks don't understand what's happening to them, and we turn on one another, and that's part of the plan.
Okay, now and we'll end on this, and this is a sincere question because I think you got where I was. Understanding 400 years of oppression, understanding a fictional division to keep the slave owners in charge was created. Can you seek justification under those 400 years of oppression without perpetuating ultimately the system of the division, for lack of a better term? Mr. Bill, do you understand my question, Mr. Bill?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would be saying exactly what y'all are saying if I was in y'all's position, but at some point, if we keep on fighting amongst ourselves and not having, I haven't heard that conversation, Socrates, on enough in this state where it's like, I'm not falling for that trick because this is how you keep on dividing us. This is how you keep us from Obamacare. This is how you keep our hospitals shutting down. This is how you keep public school systems. This is how you get welfare called subsidies, and I don't get anything near it. Mr. Bill, how do you fight for the injustices of African American without perpetuating the system that led to those injustices?
Well, the fight has to be political, and it has to be with the influences. And if African Americans cannot influence the politics, cannot influence the leaders in charge, then it will not be successful. And the leaders in charge will understand if the people perish, who are they going to stand on? But it may have to get to that before they realize it. But that's the way it is. Why the city is being put into the special district, because the city is not bad itself. It is because the subliminal perspective of taking care of the people is now coming to roost. You're not having water. You can't flush your toilet. All that's over time. So it's about the influences. And I don't mean to get into all that, but I just want to say before we go, don't forget about Malcolm Johnson running for 5th District Supervisor. He's out working hard, and we ask for your vote and talk him up and have the people that you know vote for him.
We got a minute 30. Socrates, how do you fight for injustices in the system without perpetuating the system that oppressed you?
Well, I think we're doing that now. I think the reason that we're giving our time and energy and money now is our only means of fighting, to talk about it, to put it out there for viewers and listeners to hear and see and discuss it and understand that we have a system that is designed to maintain the status quo. And so we have to discuss it to the extent that we bring about a educated community that changes policy and rebels against bad policy. Much like we will have to rebel against the state flag. It took a long time. But finally, the citizens of Mississippi and the economics of threats to the state of Mississippi made a significant change in there. We have to fight against these things, like the lack of Medicaid expansions in the state of Mississippi. We have to talk about it. We have to fight about it. We have to understand that those decisions are not being made by Tate Reeves. Tate Reeves could change his mind as he did with postpartum in a matter of seconds if he gets the phone call that says that you need to change your mind. And so we got to understand what's happening to us as American citizens. Brent, we had no idea what was happening to us in the drug wars and why it was being there and who put it there and what it was designed to do. The control of your mind will keep you, if I can control your mind, I can keep you in the positions that I want you to be in. I do not need slavery or threat to beat you, to keep you there. You will voluntarily maintain your position. And so we have a lot of work to do, and I appreciate you having this show and giving us an opportunity to talk about some of these things.
We will be back next week. Y'all be safe. Please remember there are tornadoes hit Mississippi. Please go by, give some blood, give $5, give some canned soup. It could happen to us. But thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for watching. See y'all next week.